When I was a kid, my parents would always try and buy me games that I could play with my family. Sure, I'd occasionally get my hands on a single-player adventure like Pokemon Sapphire or The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, but whenever possible, my parents would try and snag games that could result in some quality family time. With my family, I mainly play games with my younger sister Caroline, with my youngest sister Nora watching and occasionally asking to join in. My dad is normally at work and my mom is, well, not the greatest at video games. She claims to have held the local arcade record for Miss Pac-Man as a kid, but considering she has difficulty timing the swing in Wii Bowling, I'm gonna politely say she is past her gaming prime. However, when we did get the whole pack together for a night, we needed games that were easy to pick up and play for an incredibly wide skill gap. We bought Mario Kart along with our Wii because, well, literally everyone did, and while Mario Kart Wii led to thousands of laughs and hilarious moments, it eventually became the one thing that party games shouldn't be: predictable. While obviously Mario Kart includes many random elements, our massive gap in skill always resulted in me coming in first, Caroline coming in second, my dad coming in third, and either my mom or youngest sister coming in, well, let's just say lower on the leaderboard. Obviously Mario Kart was and always will be a phenomenal series to play with casuals, but my family needed something new. We needed a more accessible party game that could balance my insane gamer skills with my younger sister's, well, attempts. Enter the Mario Party series. For those of you who don't know what it is, Mario Party is a series of games starting all the way back on the Nintendo 64, which has now amassed 11 mainline games, not including the handheld entries. In these games, you play as a Mario character and travel across a game board. These game boards have different spaces that can either give you coins, start a minigame, trigger a random event, or so on. The goal of each game is to get as many stars as you can buy before the game's completion. The method of gaining stars differs from each board, but generally you have to find a specific non-playable character and trade them coins. You can get coins in a myriad of ways. Sometimes you'll be randomly given coins by an NPC, or you'll land on a blue space which ups your coin counter by 3. The most effective way to gain coins though is by winning at the minigame that plays after all 4 players have rolled the dice. There is such a variety in these minigames, which leads to players never really knowing who's gonna come out on top. Of course there are your skill-based minigames that challenge your platforming, aim, reaction time, etc., but there are also so many games that challenge your logical thinking, memory, and those that are just literally pure luck. For this video about why classic Mario Party is so damn fun, I'm going to be talking exclusively about Mario Party 1 through 8, as you could make the argument that those are the only true Mario Party games. Don't worry though, I'll cover why that is soon enough. Mario Party has cracked the formula in terms of creating a perfect party game. Every single time me and my family booted it up, we were in for an absolutely chaotic and hilarious night. Mario Party is by far and away the greatest party game franchise ever, because it understood the 3 golden rules of party games. Rule number 1, the game has to be instantly understandable. Rule number 2, the game has to be constantly engaging for an hour-plus play session. Rule number 3, and most importantly, the game has to achieve what I call perfect random. These 3 rules absolutely define Mario Party and are essential in making it such a fun experience. The first 2 rules are pretty straightforward. The game has to be instantly understandable so that anyone can just pick up a controller and play. Luckily, the concept of a board game is so widely understood that you don't even really need to explain it. Any minigame exclusive controls or rules are succinctly explained in the corresponding menu. This game is instantly understandable, not to mention its bright and cheery color palette mixed with the well-known Mario characters. It ends up being one of the most inviting game series ever made. The game is consistently engaging for an hour-plus play session because of the pure variety of gameplay. There's different types of game boards that you can play that drastically change the outcome of the game. Every couple minutes or so, there's one of like 80 minigames that you can play that provides a concentrated burst of chaotic fun. On top of that, because the game does achieve what I call this perfect random, you never know what's going to happen next, leading to a constantly engaging gameplay session. Now, let's actually talk about what that is. Perfect random is the term I've come up with to describe how the first 8 Mario parties are able to level the playing field between all its contestants while still making the contestants feel as if they have an impact over the outcome of a situation. This is such an incredibly fine line to balance, because just like I said earlier, my family, and I would assume most groups playing this game, has a pretty big skill gap in terms of video games. I mean, once again, you have me, who's pretty much been playing video games every day of my entire life, and my mom, whose biggest gaming accomplishment is reaching way too high of a level in Candy Crush. Mario Party solves this by adding in tons of random elements. Suddenly, it doesn't matter if you're the best at playing the game, because there's literally hundreds of other ways you can win. If you can't win a single skill-based minigame, you might still win most of the minigames, because a lot of them are luck-based or memory-based. If you still can't win a single minigame for some reason, you might win the entire game anyway because you land on a special space that gives you free stars. There are so many absolutely random and crazy moments in this game series that nobody has control over, and that's what makes it so fun. You're always on the edge of your seat. The tide of the game can change nearly instantly, but at the same time, Mario Party perfectly tiptoes along this fine line by not making any player feel like they're 100% out of control. If the game was entirely random, then it just straight up wouldn't be fun. You might as well just roll a dice in real life to see who wins rather than sitting down and playing this game for an hour plus. The players need to feel as if they have control over the outcome of the game, but that control they have can't be so important that it lets the players dictate who wins every time, because then you run into the dilemma my family had with Mario Kart, where the games become predictable because the outcome is nearly always the same. Whenever we played Mario Party, I would still generally win, but instead of 95% of the time, I would win more like 50% of the time, with Caroline winning 30% and the rest of the family splitting the remains. This made the game so much more fun for everyone, because for the first time in my life, when playing a video game with my family, I could go as try hard as possible. I'm talking smoke coming out of my ears, edge of my seat, gripping my controller try hard, and I could still lose. However, once again, and most importantly, I didn't feel like I was getting cheated by the game or that my actions had no outcome to the finale. There was always something I could have done differently, a minigame I could have improved upon or whatnot. That's because Mario Party requires such a wide variety of skills on top of being lucky that you can't really call yourself good at Mario Party, because one day you could be undefeated and the next day you'll feel like you can't win at all. I know this doesn't really make sense, but that's kind of the beauty of it. Achieving this perfect random that Nintendo did so effortlessly for the first 8 entries of this game is a sort of paradox. The game can't be too random, but it has to be random. It's a sort of feeling you can only get from playing those original Mario Party games. I've probably poured hundreds of hours into these party-style games. Everything from Mario Kart, Mario Party, Nintendo Land, Wii Sports and Play, Kirby's Air Ride, and so many more. Nothing has ever achieved this perfect random quite like Mario Party has. A perfect example for this actually occurred while recording gameplay for this video. I asked both my sisters, Caroline and Nora, to play some Mario Party 8, our Mario Party of choice, just so I could get some footage of different boards for B-roll for this video. We played one round on Goomba's Boardwalk where Caroline and I pretty much annihilated everyone else. We had the computer set to normal though, so for the next game where Nora joined in, I set Birdo, the computer, to hard, thinking that it might provide a bit more of a challenge. Birdo started absolutely sweeping us. Every single move Birdo did seemed calculated, and I swear to God we thought the computer was cheating. I as Waluigi and Caroline as Toadette were literally fuming. We were tryharding so hard, we were pissed that this computer was beating us. Nora as Peach didn't really care because, I mean, she wasn't expecting to win. However, Caroline and I were just flat out embarrassed that a computer was beating us. However, on the literal last turn of the game, Nora, who keep in mind has pretty much zero video game experience, rolled the perfect amount, so not only did she get the star that was right in front of her, but she landed on a Donkey Kong space which threw her again to get her another star. Couple that with her getting a bonus star and she won the entire game. I would say this is probably one of the funniest moments that's ever happened to me while playing Mario Party, but that's just a flat out lie because stuff like this seemingly happens every time we play. That's just the magic of Mario Party. To end off this video, I want to create a new segment for the channel known as Thomas's Weird Metaphors that don't really make sense, but I include them anyways. Mario Party is jazz. Okay, hear me out. Jazz is a weird type of music. Anyone who can hear is able to listen to jazz, and is therefore able to enjoy jazz. However, if you're a professionally trained musician, and you're listening to some rock or classical, not only are you able to enjoy it, but you're able to predict what happens next. You're able to recognize different melodies or themes you've heard before, and start to piece together different rhythmic compositions. Even if you are a professionally trained musician though, when you're listening to jazz, you won't be able to predict what's gonna happen all the time. That's the beauty of jazz. Sometimes you'll be positive a certain note or rhythm's gonna be played, and it just gets completely switched up. Jazz gets rid of the divide between professional musicians and normal listeners because everyone who's listening to jazz is on the same playing field. No one really knows what's gonna happen. And you would think that all the crazy notes and melodies would, hamper your enjoyment of jazz, but in fact quite the opposite. Not knowing what's gonna happen next and what you're gonna be surprised with doesn't hamper your excitement, it actually improves it. It's what people like about jazz. That's just like Mario Party. Classic Mario Party is just like jazz in the sense that everyone is on the same playing field because no one knows what's gonna happen. And the fact that no one knows what's gonna happen is the reason it's so inviting and people love it in the first place. If I'm playing Mario Kart and get just absolutely bombarded with blue shells and red shells, and if my younger sister Nora ended up passing me, I would feel cheated by the game. I'd be like, hey, that's not fair, that's not my fault. But there's something about Mario Party where if I'm in Mario Party and I'm in the lead and then I lose a ton of mini games and I just get absolutely screwed over by luck, it doesn't hamper my enjoyment because, well, that's just Mario Party. However, unfortunately, Mario Party didn't stay this illustrious for long. Mario Party is one of my favorite franchises ever, but it's hard to deny an objective dip in quality over these past few entries. Even handheld entries like Mario Party DS are held in high regard, whereas the newer 3DS entries are generally looked down upon. Many are quick to point out that any series that's had as many entries as Mario Party will eventually have to try something new. And while I agree with that, I think there's a bigger reason as to this objective dip in quality. Hudson Soft developed Mario Party 1 through 8, and their subsequent spin-offs like Mario Party DS. However, from Mario Party 9 onward, the games have all been developed by ND Cube. In this video, I want to talk about why ND Cube just misses the mark when it comes to Mario Party, and how even their newest entry, which is marketed as a return to form, is, in my opinion, the worst Mario Party yet. I want to quickly give a disclaimer saying that obviously these are all my opinions. While I feel like generally here the internet does agree with me that Mario Party has had an objective dip in quality these past few games, if you've enjoyed Mario Party 9, 10, or even Super, do not let what I'm saying ruin your enjoyment. I mean, hey, I'm the guy who believes that what many think is the worst 3D Mario is actually the best, so I'm no stranger to having different opinions, and I know how it feels to love a game that everyone else says is bad. Don't let anyone invalidate the fun memories you've had while playing those games. This is all just my opinion. Entering Mario Party 9, it was clear that the franchise needed to shake things up. After 8 entries and a change in developer, 9 seemed like the perfect time, so they introduced the car gimmick. Essentially, every character was put in a car, and therefore had to travel together. Now, I'm all for changing up a series and rocking its established roots. However, the car mechanic, which I will henceforth be referring to as Cario Party, just does not work. The car essentially put everyone together, so the boards got mad linear, as in a straight line linear. It also makes everything way too random. You can't even plot out what's going to happen because you have to account for 3 random rolls by other people before you go. Also, remember the routine minigames that would happen once after every player rolled? Yeah, those are now randomly tied to spaces that you may or may not land on. Also, no more stars or coins. Everything is now tied into these mini stars that you collect by being the person to roll into them, which is pretty much 100% luck because once again, you can't really account for the 3 other random rolls happening before you. Also on top of that, minigames reward you mini-stars, so winning minigames quite literally makes you better at the game, as opposed to past games where you'd win coins, which only help you win if you land on a star space. So because winning minigames is now so closely tied to winning the actual game, and even minigames are random, literally everything is random. This entire game is just one big roll of the dice. Remember how the entire thesis of that last video was about how Hudson Soft developed a perfect blend between being random and in control, so that players didn't feel like there was no point to any of their movements? Well, NDCube just threw out that balance. Everything is random. There's virtually no player input in this game. However, that's not to say there aren't positives in Mario Party 9. Graphically, it's leagues ahead of Mario Party 8, which is funny because they're on the same console. On top of that, the minigames here are some of the best in the series, although I don't really think there's ever been a Mario Party that's had bad minigames. And on top of that, since the boards are so linear, NDCube was able to make them pretty unique and add in these cool gimmicks that are essentially full-fledged minigames built into the boards themselves. Overall, the boards are actually really cool, but because they are so linear, replayability is just absolutely decimated. So overall, Mario Party 9 was not the best way to reboot a franchise, but it's clear NDCube had passion for the series. They can only go up from here, right? Oh boy. Now I've made it a point to not really talk about the handheld entries because I don't have much experience with that facet of Mario Party. However, I would be remiss to point out that supposedly the 3DS Mario Parties are among the worst in the series, and NDCube made 3 of them.
Stop! He's already dead!
Mario Party 10 came out on the Wii U in 2015, and is generally regarded to be the absolute worst in the series. However, in my opinion, if you can get past the incredibly generic presentation and the apparent lack of modes, it's just Mario Party 9 but with some minor changes, some for the better and some for the worse, and the addition of Bowser mode, which is a cool concept but so incredibly unbalanced I'm not gonna really talk about it. Overall, Mario Party 10 feels like a sequel to Mario Party 9. The same problems that plagued the first game are here too, but in 10 there's arguably less variety and other things to distract you from those problems. Now don't get me wrong, you can still have fun moments in these games. For example, in Mario Party 10's Bowser mode, there's a part where the main group of players has to choose a path, either up or down. One ends up being really good, one ends up being really bad, and Bowser on the gamepad gets to see which one's good and bad and can scribble stuff on them to try and sway the car group. It ends up playing out kind of like this moment from The Princess Bride.
Are you the sort of man who would put the poison into his own goblet or his enemy? Now, a clever man would put the poison into his own goblet because he would know that only a great fool would reach for what he was given. I'm not a great fool, so I can clearly not choose the wine in front of you.
So yeah, there's certainly still fun moments to be had here, but because of the linear level design, the fun moments are more ones that are like coded into the game, rather than stuff that happens spontaneously, like my sister Nora's epic comeback in the last round that I mentioned in the previous video. In E3 2018, a new game emerged. Advertised as a return to form, a sort of reboot of the series if you will, everyone was on their own, no car in sight. There were seemingly extremely fun minigames, really nice presentation, catchy music, online play. The series was finally getting a reboot, and from the marketing, Nintendo seemed dead on trying to revitalize the series to its former glory. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you guys have guessed by now, I think the ensuing game did none of that. In fact, I think it's probably the worst in the entire series. Super Mario Party was a complete and utter disappointment in every sense of the word. If there's one thing I hate more than lifeless, bland, and generic video games, it's false marketing that preys on the nostalgia and passion people have for a series. That's exactly what Super Mario Party did. However, I'm really excited for the next installment in the Mario Party franchise. The Mario Party series has always been one that I love to play with my family, and it's seriously just, it holds such a special place in my heart that I'm really looking forward to this next installment because it seems to be a refresh of the entire series, and I just can't wait. Marketed as a return to form, it was anything but. Many people will point to the fact that the game only has 4 boards as a reason for its failure, but I only really used 4 boards in Mario Party 8, so what's the real problem here? Well, the game only really has one board, 4 times. It's generic and lifeless, the game plays itself. Let's look at this first board, Womp's Domino Ruins. There's a couple of really mini distractions here, but it can generally be chalked up to one big circle that goes around 4 smaller circles. Let's look at King Bob-omb's Powder Keg Mine. Here they switch stuff up a little bit, but boil it down, it's still one circle with a couple of small distractions. One small circle that goes around 4 smaller circles. But what about Kamek's Tantalizing Tower? It's the exact same thing. These boards are generic and lifeless and seem like something a Mario Party generator would make rather than a group of people who have passion and care about their final product. On top of that, all the boards are pretty small, not just in terms of size, but there's very few actually interesting parts about them, and what interesting parts there are spread out. That's not helped by the fact that normal dice blocks are now 1 through 6, which slows down the game tremendously compared to the 1 through 10s of past games. The game is hopelessly unbalanced too. I'm convinced that no one actually playtested this, as you can just farm golden pipes and get transported to stars. On top of that, stars are only worth 10 coins, so everyone has enough coins to buy a star, so it's literally just a race to see who can get to the star first, which you can completely bypass with the golden pipe. Minigames still give you like 8 coins though, so instead of feeling like an integral part of the game that holds the entire experience together, they're just another thing you grind through in this slogfest of an experience, because if you've won one, you essentially have enough coins to buy a star already. So to recap, classic Mario Party boards were fun because they provided a lot of player freedom and movement options with interesting gimmicks. And Mario Party 9 and 10 boards were good because the more linear style allowed for really cool set pieces and minigames to be built into the individual boards, making them feel more unique from each other. Look at these pros here. Super Mario Party boards have none of them. But what about the other game modes? A huge part of the marketing was showing off that not just Mario Party is here, but a ton of other unique modes as well. River Survival sounded like a cool addition because you could work together as a group of 4 for the first time in Mario Party history. However, the game only has like 10 minigames to choose from, so if you play for more than 15 minutes, you're gonna start repeating games, which is just not fun. Remember online play, the one thing that fans have been asking for from this franchise for years? Remember how the president of Nintendo said they were gonna be including online play successfully in a lot more games right before Mario Party launched? Remember how Mario Party launched a month after a paid online service, leading people to think the online would be really integrated into the gameplay? You can play 5 laggy minigames online in a tournament setting. That's it. Oh yeah, and when one person leaves, the entire thing crashes. Great Nintendo, just incredible game design. Remember before when I made the jazz metaphor, saying that classic Mario Party was like jazz? Yeah? Well, Super Mario Party is like nothing. Sure, I mean, it's not horrible, but it's so incredibly boring. You can have fun with nothing, but you have to make your own fun. Nothing is not inherently fun. Super Mario Party is not fun. I've poured a lot of time into this game, and it sucks because I really wanted to enjoy it. It holds such a special place in my heart that I'm really looking forward to this next installment. I just can't wait. But looking back on it, I have not made a single fun memory in this game that was actually because of the game. Any time I had fun in this game has been solely because I'm playing with a group of friends or family that I can laugh with and make jokes with and generally enjoy myself around. There's never been a fun thing that's happened in Super Mario Party that I've thought about after turning off the game. If you've had fun with Super Mario Party and you're kind of offended by this, I genuinely do want you to look back and think about it. The fun memories you have that you associate with this game, are they actually because of the game itself? Or are they because of the family and friends you played it with? Would you have had those exact same memories or been laughing as hard or smiling as wide if you were just playing against the computer? What hurts me most, again, is the marketing. They knew we wanted a return to form for Mario Party. This franchise that we all love and hold dear to our hearts and has made so many great memories across all of us, we've been just wanting to get that franchise back. And Nintendo finally takes the characters out of the car and advertises it as a return to form when that couldn't be further from the truth. The marketing for Super Mario Party was a deceptive business choice at best, and a malicious trap aimed at core Mario Party fans at worst. Once again, the game is not horrible, it's just so bland, so generic. I honestly would have rathered it be horrible because then at least when I'm playing with friends I can laugh about that, and the game is providing some sort of enjoyment, but this is so inoffensive and straight up generic that I can honestly say I hate this game and everything it stands for. However, I'm not giving up on this franchise just yet. I hope I've made it clear that I just love this series and I only want what's best for it. And given that Nintendo has been shown to listen to the fans a bit more during the Switch era, I'm still holding out hope that it is 100% possible that Nintendo fixes Mario Party and creates what'll truly be the best entry in this franchise. Obviously, yeah, they could probably just, make another version of classic Mario Party, but then we'd just run into the same problem as earlier, where it would get stale because, they've already done that like 8 times. How can they innovate on the formula and, truly make it better while maintaining what everyone loved about classic Mario Party intact? Well, I'm not one to just sit here and complain, and I feel like I've done my fair share of complaining throughout this video. So instead, for the rest of this, I want to actually suggest what Nintendo could do to fix Mario Party in the future. I have 4 main suggestions here, and each one is crazier, yet I think more exciting than the last. The first thing I kinda want to talk about is just your standard return to form. However, they can't just go back and make, another version of Mario Party 8. Instead, even though I've made it very clear I don't like the more recent versions of Mario Party, I can't deny that they've done some things right, and you have to take what they've done right and add it to the classic formula. For example, take the more grandiose boards of Mario Party 1 through 8, with more, unique little passages here and there, and more interesting routes and shapes. But add in those fun little inboard mini-games from Mario Party 9 and 10. Landing on a certain space could trigger these events, and it would be a great way to kind of expand the world building of these boards. On top of that, you could even take the character roster from Super Mario Party, which I will concede is really good. And boom, just like that, you've already got an excellent Mario Party game that would rival the best. On top of that, add in online play, and no, not that afterthought of a mode they added in Super just so they could put Nintendo Switch Online on the box. I'm talking full online with friends and randos, and maybe even a ranked mode for extra spice. I know that sounds stupid, but just the fact that I could potentially say the sentence, "Bro, I'm plat in Mario Party," just gets me so excited. Like, that would literally be hilarious. On top of that, I do want Nintendo to bring back some of the extra modes from Super. River Survival and Partner Party were really good kind of distractions from the main game, but I don't want Nintendo's development team to let them distract them from making the main mode all it can be. It's clear that Super's development team let the main mode kind of fall just so they could cram as many distractions in as possible, and distractions are fun, but they're just that, distractions. They're good for a little bit, and games like River Survival are great, when you want to work together with who you're playing with, but only start working on them after you've made the main mode the best it can be. Overall, this would probably be the most generic next Mario Party, and it's probably the one that's most likely to happen. I could honestly see this as a Super Mario Party 2, and I would be overjoyed. However, if Nintendo truly wants to experiment with the formula, these next 3 ideas would certainly allow them to do just that. Recently, a little game called Fall Guys took the internet by storm, and while many branded Twitter accounts seemed quick to jump on the Fall Guys Mario Party comparison for easy Twitter points, the games are not as similar as it might seem. Sure, there are some blatant similarities in certain aspects, but Fall Guys feels like such an evolution for the genre. Unfortunately, Fall Guys has kind of fallen off. While it's not at all a dead game like so many people on Twitter love to claim, it obviously just isn't as popular as it once was. However, the fact that even if it was just for a couple of months, Fall Guys caught on as quickly and as huge as it did, you cannot deny that the market is out there for this sort of thing. Now, how would a Mario Party game be able to focus so heavily on online? Well, they could add in stuff like online tournaments, or maybe lift the Splatfest idea from Splatoon 2 and have 2 teams battle it out for a weekend. If you win online, you earn points for your team. I know Nintendo's implementation of online has always been more than a little scuffed, but I don't think you can ignore the success of Fall Guys and just say, yeah, the next Mario Party can have, no online like it normally does. They might not embrace it as heavily as Fall Guys, which, couldn't be done without online, but it's definitely possible the next Mario Party has some crazy online mode none of us were expecting. The next thing I want to talk about is asymmetrical multiplayer. I'm planning on making a couple of videos about this topic because asymmetrical multiplayer is one of the most exciting things in video games today. In fact, the game that you could honestly say probably killed Fall Guys, Among Us, shows the power of asymmetrical multiplayer better than any other. All that asymmetrical multiplayer means is that one player is not equal to the rest of the players. The 1v3 minigames that have become a staple in Mario Party are great examples of asymmetrical multiplayer. Among Us has shown the power of asymmetrical multiplayer and just how fun it can truly be. And you might be saying, well, what about Bowser Party? Because that was essentially a giant asymmetrical multiplayer mode that Mario Party 10 was entirely based around. And to that I say, well, Bowser Party kinda sucked. It was not balanced at all and generally wasn't executed well, but even despite that, that was the most fun I had with Mario Party 10. It goes to show the power of asymmetrical multiplayer, and if Nintendo could execute it well and have it actually balanced, something like a return to Bowser Party could be huge. Or maybe borrowing a bit from Among Us, you could have 4 players back in a cart working together, maybe trying to escape Bowser who's controlled by an NPC, but at the start of the game, one character is sneakily designated as maybe Bowser's minion, and they try and throw the entire game without letting any other player on to the fact that they're trying to throw. Just that idea is really exciting, and it shows the power of asymmetrical multiplayer. If you've played video games with your friends in any capacity recently, chances are you've probably heard of Jackbox games before. Essentially, these are games where one person owns the game and then hosts a lobby for anyone else to join just by going to jackbox.tv on their phone or computer and typing in the code. This allows everyone to play multiplayer when only one person actually owns the game. Now, because these games are so accessible, Jackbox games are always generally very simple. They're more so social games than video games, but the idea could potentially transfer over. In fact, it has, in one of my favorite multiplayer games of all time. This game I'm about to mention has actually replaced Mario Party essentially within my family. Whereas we used to go, hey, do you guys want to play a new round of Mario Party? Now we say, hey, you want to play some Acron? Acron Attack of the Squirrels is a game developed by Resolution Games, who is honestly one of my favorite developers out there. They just straight up don't miss, and they create some of the most fun VR titles around. Acron in particular is an absolute blast. Basically, one person plays as a tree, and up to 8 people can join on their phone playing as squirrels. It's like one giant lopsided game of capture the flag. The tree just has to outlast the squirrels and wait until the timer ticks down to 0, and the squirrels are tasked with grabbing the tree's 4 golden acorns before the time runs up. The tree can throw these little magical balls, place down slime to slow down the squirrels, and even pick up the squirrels and throw them off the map if they get close enough. The squirrels have different classes, like one that moves super fast or one that can dig underground. One can even build up high, which is hilarious. The game is overall pretty simple, even my mom can pick up and play it, but it is by far some of the most fun I've ever had playing a multiplayer game. Now obviously it's not like Nintendo's gonna, do something like this related to VR, but remember they do have a mobile partnership with DNA Studios, so it's 100% possible for them to create a companion app alongside the next Mario Party. Using a phone as the controller gives the player their own unique screen, which would be super useful for asymmetrical multiplayer like I mentioned earlier. On top of that, it would allow for just more people to play, as you don't need to buy like 4 pairs of Joy-Con to fit 8 players in. Now unfortunately the chances of this happening are extremely slim, as Nintendo wants you to buy those Joy-Con because they're so drastically overpriced. However, in my opinion, if they want Mario Party to ever reach its true potential, they'll have to follow one of these routes. Sure, they can keep making games like Super Mario Party that are just overall bland and generic, and by the looks of it, they'll keep selling incredibly well just because they're Mario Party, but I know Mario Party can be better than this. It's a franchise that I've loved throughout my entire life, and to see it kind of fizzle out like this, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. I'm not gonna give up hope, because I truly do love these games, and I cherish so many of the memories that they've helped me create. But as of right now, well, that's the sad state of Mario Party.